Most people think humility means thinking less of yourself, staying small, deflecting praise, never taking up too much space. But if you've ever tried to be the humble one, you might have noticed something uncomfortable underneath it, a quiet tension, a subtle need to be seen as the person who doesn't need to be seen. You downplay your achievements, you insist it was nothing, you make sure no one thinks you're arrogant, and yet a small part of you hopes someone will notice how modest you're being. And in this video, we're going to explore why the desire to be humble sometimes hides a very human ego that simply learn to wear softer clothes. Imagine you accomplish something meaningful. Maybe you get a promotion, finish a creative project, or receive genuine praise from someone you respect, and instead of simply saying thank you, you rush to minimize it. You say it was luck. You say anyone could have done it. You laugh it off as if it barely mattered. On the surface that looks like humility, but underneath there's often fear of being judged, fear of standing out too much, fear that confidence will turn into rejection. So shrinking becomes a strategy, and the ego quietly whispers that being the least threatening person in the room is the safest identity to hold. You might wonder whether that is humility or self-protection dressed up as virtue, because when someone compliments you and you immediately deflect it back onto them, calling them the talented one and refusing to let the praise land, something subtle is happening beneath the politeness. While that can feel gracious, it can also be a way of controlling how you're perceived, because if you never fully accept recognition, no one can accuse you of thinking too highly of yourself. And the ego sometimes prefers moral superiority over visible success. There's also a quieter version of this. When you take pride in not needing attention, when you distance yourself from people who openly seek validation, and you feel slightly elevated for staying in the background, comparison is still happening in those moments. The ego is still measuring. It has simply shifted the metric from achievement to modesty. And suddenly humility becomes another silent competition about who can appear the most unaffected. Sometimes being humble is tied to identity, especially if you were taught that pride leads to downfall or that confident people are arrogant. So you learn to equate smallness with goodness and trained yourself to stay agreeable and soft. Over time that behavior becomes automatic. Yet beneath it there may still be a longing to be fully expressed and fully seen without guilt. And when that longing is suppressed, it doesn't disappear. It just hides. Hidden parts of you can surface in indirect ways, like quiet resentment or subtle superiority, which raises the question of whether your humility is truly freeing you or quietly containing you. There is another layer that feels even more subtle, the satisfaction of being perceived as humble. When someone calls you grounded or down to earth and you feel a warm confirmation that your modesty has been recognized, the ego does not always need applause for greatness. Sometimes it just wants credit for being above the need for applause. And that paradox can be difficult to admit because it challenges how you see yourself. Being human means wanting recognition in some form, even recognition for not wanting recognition. And perhaps that is not something to judge but something to gently understand. Consider how uncomfortable it can feel to simply own your strengths without cushioning them, to say you worked hard for something and let the sentence sit there without apology or self-deprecation. For many people that feels almost wrong, like occupying space they were never given permission to take. So they retreat back into modesty because it feels safer and more aligned with who they believe the why should be. But maybe true humility is not about shrinking or inflating. Maybe it is about accuracy, about seeing yourself clearly with strengths and flaws included and without exaggerating either side. Real humility might be quieter than performance. It does not need to announce itself or hide itself. It simply allows reality to be what it is. You did well and that is okay. You made mistakes and that is okay too. When you live from that place, the ego softens naturally, not because you are fighting it, but because you are no longer feeding it through careful image management. And you begin to stand in your full size without towering over anyone or disappearing beneath them. In the end, the ego is not the enemy but a protective structure seeking belonging and worth. And when you see that clearly, you no longer need to prove you are impressive or humble. You can simply be human, visible and imperfect. And maybe that is where real humility quietly begins. If this made you think of yourself or someone you know, you're not alone. Feel free to sit with that thought. Maybe share it. And if you want more quiet psychology like this, you already know where the subscribe button is.